In this video, I'm on page 28. We are still in lesson 10, but we are looking at a longer passage this time. So the little table thing that we've been using is not necessarily going to work as well on this one. I'm going to read the passage and then I'll decide about the diagram that I want to use. As the passages get longer, the basic diagrams are usually not enough. But let's see what this has to say, and then we'll worry about what diagram to use. Now this one has numbers down the margin, and those are just paragraph numbers. So you have paragraph 1, paragraph 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, I would argue that this is not a paragraph. It only has 2 sentences, but that's just what I've been taught. If you're writing your own passages, I would encourage you to make sure your paragraphs have at least 3 sentences. Okay, number 1. Many parents and caregivers wrestle with whether or not to give their children an allowance. What is the best way to give children money for the things they need or want? What is the best way to teach children to spend and save wisely? Here are some options from financial experts. One option is to have children earn an allowance. They are paid for doing chores around the house. Children learn about being responsible by doing the work as promised. Getting paid for doing chores prepares children to be good workers as adults. However, this option can cause problems. You may have to spend additional time reminding children to do chores. You may even have to redo chores done by very young children. Some children might not care about getting money for a chore, so the chore does not get done. Someone will have to do the chore instead, and that will probably be you. Another option is to give children a certain amount of money each week. In this case, allowance is not tied to doing chores. A third option is to give children money to buy something. They ask for money and explain why they need it. This method requires children to make a persuasive argument for needing or wanting the money. Based on the argument, you decide whether or not to give them the money to buy the item. Or you might decide to have them find a way to earn money to buy it. This method helps children develop reasoning skills. You might even require that older children research items and compare prices. No matter which allowance option you choose, help your children understand how money works, the differences between wants and needs, and the importance of making good choices about money. You can start by teaching children the basics about spending and saving. It is important to talk about the short-term and long-term spending goals. When children have to save for a goal, they learn the value of money and understand saving. For example, you might set up 3 containers: a spend jar, a save jar, and a give jar. Let children decide how much of the allowance should go into each jar. There's a lot going on in this particular passage, but I think we can break it down into a diagram fairly simply. So let's draw a matrix. Whoops, sorry, forgot to hit the shape tool. And you guys know I cannot draw. So I'm going to make a space for my topic and my main idea. I'm going to put in 3 rows. Actually, let's do 4. Okay. In the middle 3, I'm going to section off like this. If you need to stop your video, that's fine to diagram this out. And I think this will be a very good way to break this down. So first thing I'm going to do is put my topic up here. And then my main idea, we'll put it right in there. So the topic, again, that's 2 or 3 words, and they didn't give us a title. So I'm going to call it options, because they did name 3 options. 1 option, another option, and a third option. For helping kids with money. You could say children, but I'm running out of space. Okay. So here we have the main idea. I'm going to say there are several options. A parent can choose. To teach children about money. Okay. And then we have the first option. They call it another option, but I'm going to call it the second option. And then the third option. And we'll worry about that bottom space there in just a second. So let's see what the first option is. The first option is to earn an allowance. So let's describe it. Kids earn an allowance. How? How do they earn an allowance? They do chores around the house. Okay, so that's the first option. What's the second option? Give children a certain amount of money each week. So kids get money each week. And the third option is to give money. Kids get money for specific purchases. So I'm going to say kids get money when they need something or when they want something. So you don't just give them money, you give them money when they need or want to buy something. So these are 3 options for dealing with this situation. This is the third option. This is the second option. And then this one was the first option. So you've already gone a very long way in understanding this passage. And we haven't dealt with that last paragraph yet. That's coming up here in a minute. But let's focus for just a second on the first option. What are the good things about the first option? Well, children learn to be responsible. They learn about working as promises. It prepares them to be good workers as adults. What are the bad things about this option? You may have to remind children to do chores. You may have to redo chores. Or kids just may not care. They may not want an allowance enough to do the chore. So when I come back down here, let's list those little tidbits of information. I am not going to write out sentences. I'm just going to write out the bullet points. So the pros, the positives of this method are children learn to be responsible. They learn to keep promises. They learn to be good workers as adults. I'm going to say prepare for adult work. Those are all the good things about this particular method. The cons, those are the problems. Those are the bad things, the negatives. You may have to remind kids. You may have to redo the chores if they don't do a very good job. They may do their very best, but it still may not be quite enough. And some kids just don't care. They don't want money enough to do this. And that's true. Some kids would rather be outside playing than have to do chores for work or for money, for an allowance. Okay, the second option. This is a little bit interesting to me because that paragraph is so short, there's just not enough there. There really are no pros or cons. It's just an option. They don't really give you any positives or negatives. So I'm just going to leave these spaces blank. There are no positives and negatives to put in there. So let's look at the third option. Positives. It requires children to make a persuasive argument for needing or wanting the money. They have to make an argument to give you a reason to give them the money. It helps them develop reasoning skills. You can also teach your older children to research and compare prices. So those are all positives. Those are all pros of this last option. So a pro of the third option, it requires persuasive argument. Now, some people may say, I don't want my children to argue with me. Some may say, well, they have to learn how to argue effectively to make it in the world. I'm not offering an opinion. I'm just pointing that out. They may ask you for something and you require them to earn it. This method would seem to me to work better for children who are old enough to make these kinds of reasoning things. And it does develop reasoning skills. It does develop, you can have them to compare prices and research. And the author does not point out any negatives, so there's just nothing to put in that particular column. So now let's deal with the last section. Why did the author include this last paragraph? No matter which option you choose, help your children to understand how money works, the differences between needs and wants, and the importance of making good choices about money. Teach them the basics about spending and saving. It's important to talk about short-term and long-term spending goals. When they have to save for a goal, so teach them to save, they learn the value of money. So letting children decide how much money should go in each jar. You're giving them the thinking skills. So the author here makes an argument. That's what that last paragraph is about. Kids need to learn to manage money. Okay, there are several ways they can do that, but however you choose to do it, the author is making the argument that children need to learn this. And the reasons, or a reason, that he's citing here is that kids learn these skills early in life. And evidence that he offers or she offers is, I like the three, the how money works, want or need, learning the difference between those two, good choices, how to save, setting goals. Those are all skills that kids need to learn. However you choose to teach them, those are skills that they need to know. And you as a parent decide the best way to teach those skills. Okay, let me try to take a screenshot of this diagram. And let's bring that with us to answer the questions. And these are on page 29. I'm going to put my diagram right down here. And we'll use that to come up with our answers for these questions. Number 1, what main point does the author make in paragraph 2? So look back, paragraph 2 is this one that I've used blue. It is the option 1 paragraph. So let's look over here. Option 1, that's where they're talking about earning an allowance by doing chores. Children can earn an allowance by doing chores. I just said that, so that one sounds promising. Children might not care about getting money for chores. That's true. The person mentioned that. Paying children to do chores can be a problem. Someone else may end up doing the chore. So all of those relate to that passage. But what is it mostly about? What was the focus of the passage? It is about allowing children to work for an allowance. So A is the answer to that one. According to the passage, what is a reason to pay children allowance for doing chores? So that's the same first option. Why would you want to pay them to do chores? That's a pro. They're responsible, they keep promises, and they prepare for adult work. So any of those, there's the word responsible. I like that. That is listed as one of those options for this particular, that's listed as one of the positives for this particular option. What evidence does the author give to support that reason that children become more responsible? Having children do chores always saves parents time. That's not true, because remember, you may have to redo the chore. Getting paid for chores prepares children to be good workers as adults. Most children do not care about making money. That wasn't stated. It said some don't, but not all or many. Children do not always complete the chores. Okay, that is true. But we're trying to support this statement up here in green, that it makes them more responsible. So I'm thinking B, getting paid as children prepares you to work as an adult. Number 3, read the sentence. It is important to talk about short-term and long-term spending goals. That's the author's argument. So this is this last box down here that we're looking at. What reason does the author provide to support this point? Financial experts have options for giving children money. Doing chores helps children earn money to reach their goals. Saving teaches children the value of money. Children should give reasons why they need money. Well, let's recall that this particular sentence is the author's argument. Sorry, guys. I'm getting my shape tool and my pen all mixed up. So this is the author's argument. And that is in paragraph 5. Okay, so let's look at our diagram. Paragraph 5. One of the things it talks about in paragraph 5 is saving. That is one of the reasons, or not reasons, a bit of the evidence that the author uses to support his argument. Saving teaches children the value of money. That is also discussed in paragraph 5. A was discussed in paragraph 1. B was discussed in paragraph 2. D was discussed in paragraph 4. Number 4. Which point lacks supporting details? Now let's pay attention here. This is important. Lacks means does not have. So which point does not have support in this passage? Allowance can be earned by doing chores. That was in paragraph 2. Allowance can be given with no requirements. That was in paragraph 3. Allowance can be given based on persuasive arguments. That was in paragraph 4. Children should be educated about spending and saving. That was in paragraph 5. Now what? One of those did not have any support. There was nothing there to explain the point being made. So look at your diagram and tell me where the details are missing. Ooh, look right here. There's nothing there. Now, there's nothing here either, but there was something here in the pro column. So at least there was something there to explain. It's in this second option, and that is paragraph 3. Okay. Allowance can be given with no requirements. That is absolutely true. And the author did not make any explanation. They just said you can do that if you want to. Be careful. It's the second option, but it's paragraph 3. So just be careful that you get the right piece of information. This is not an easy passage. The longer those passages get, the harder they are to break down. Okay, I believe in the next lesson we are up to a new skill. Let me double check that. Yes, we will be up to historical text, which is one of my favorites. So if you're tired of author's point of view and evidence and all that, we're leaving that behind for a little while. I will see you in the next video. I hope you have a really good day. Bye-bye.